Yamanobhishtam
Papitam yena
Stapitayena
bhuta
Bhutale
Swayam Rupa Tada
Ayam
Mayham
Tadam
Tadati Shopadam
Swapadam
Vandeham
Vandeham Shri
Shridaha
Shri
Shriyuta Padakamalam
Padakamalam
Shri
Shri
Gurun
Gurun Vaishnavamscha
Vaishnavamsha
Sri Rupam
Rupam
Sagrajatam
Sagrajatam
Sahakam
Sahagana
Raghunathanitam
Raghunathavitam
Tam
Tam
Sajivam
Sajivam Sadhitam
Sadhutam
Tavadutam
Parijana
Parijana
Sahitam
Sahitam
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Devam
Devam Shri
Shri
Radha
Radha
Krishna
Adani
Prabhupada
Sahagana Lalita
Sahagana
Khanitamsha Shri
He
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Karuna
Karuna
Sindhu
Sindhu
Dinabandhu Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Vishapurita
Gopicha Gopika
Kanta
Kanta
Radha
Radha
Kanta
Kanta
Namo
Namostute
Tapta Kanchana
Taptakanchana Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari Shridhar
Vrishabhanu Sute
Sudhanu
Devi
Pranamami
Pranamami
Hari
Hari Priye
Vanchakalpa Tarvasya Vipasindhubhya
Vacha
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Jai Shri
Shri
Hare
Krishna
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 Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Nityananda Shri
Advaita
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 Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Srivastadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
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 Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Please accept
Dandavat
our
Prabhu.
humble obeisances from everybody in this group, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we are on chapter 11, Prabhuji. And the text for today is text 22, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Yeah,
we...
yeah, we'll have to take a couple of verses because this verse don't have purports.
Okay, Prabhuji,
So,
and is it possible for us to repeat the Sanskrit text after
yeah.
one line so we can get practice to
Yeah.
read Sanskrit as
Because
well?
we have to read all these verses right up to 32. All this. Only one has got purport, 26, 27, a very short purport. Anyway, we can go to 22. Rudra Aditya Vasavo Yecha Sadhya
Rudraditva vasavo ye cha sadhya
Vishweshino Marutas Choshma Pascha
vishweshvinau marutascha smaspascha
Gandharva Yaksha Shura Siddha Sangha
gandharva yaksha sura siddha sangha
Vikshante Tvam Vishmitish Chaiva Sarve.
vikshante tvam vishmitaschaiva sanve.
Translation: all the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Vishwadevas, the two Ashvis, the Maruts, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. Text 23. Rupam Mahate Bahuvaktra Netram
Rupam mahate bahukrat
Mahabaho Bahu Bahurupadam
Mahabaho bahubahurau padam
Bahudaram Bahudamshtraka-karalam
Bahudaram bahudarshmata karalam
Drishtva Loka Pravyatishtash Tataham.
Drishtva lokam pravatitas tathaham.
Almighty Am One, all the planets with the demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth, and as they are disturbed, so am I. Text 24. Nabha sprisham diptim aneka varnam.
Nabham sparsham diptam aneka varnam.
Vyatananam dipta vishala netram.
Vyatananam dipta vishala netram.
Drishtva hi tvam pravyati tantaratma.
Drishtati tvam tantarati atma.
Dhritim cha vindami shamam cha Vishnu.
Ritim na vindami sarvani cha Vishnu.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouths and your great glowing eyes, my mind is perturbed by fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind. Text 25. Damstra karalani chate mukhani.
Damstra kalarani cha te mukhani.
Drishta vaiva kalanala sana bihini.
Drishta vaiva kalanana sanibhani.
Disho na jane na labe cha sharma.
Disho na jane na labhe cha sharma.
Prashida devasya jagana nivasha.
Prasida devasha jagan nivasha.
O Lord of Lords, O refuge of all the worlds, please be gracious upon me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing that-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions, I am bewildered. 26 and 27, the two verses together. Ami chatvam datrashraya putra.
Amicha tvam dhritarashtrasya putra.
Sarve sahaivavani pala sangai.
Sarve saha vavani pala sanga hai.
Bhishmodrona suto putra tastataso.
Bhishmo drona suta putrastastasu.
Sahasmadirair api yoda mukhai.
Sahasrar api yodha mukhai.
Vaktrani te tvara mana vishanti.
Vaktranani tetra mana vishanti.
Damsta karalani bhayananakani.
Dramshtra kalanani bhayanakani.
Kechid vilagna dashananatarishu.
Kechit vilagna dashanana tareshu.
Sandrashayante churnitar uttamamangai.
Sandrishyante chunitair uttama gai.
Translation. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with the allied kings, and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and all our chief soldiers also, are rushing into your fearful mouths, and some I see trapped with heads smashed between your teeth. You can read the purport, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
In the previous verse, the Lord promised to show Arjuna things he would be interested in seeing. Now, Arjuna sees that the leaders of the opposite party, that is Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and all the sons of Dhritarashtra, and their soldiers, and Arjuna's own soldiers, are all being annihilated. This is an indication that after the death of nearly all the persons assembled at Kurukshetra, Arjuna will emerge victorious. It is also mentioned here that Bhishma, who is supposed to be unconquerable, will also be smashed. Also Karna, Not only will the great warriors of the other party like Bhishma be smashed, but some great warriors of Arjuna's side also.
We'll carry on up to 32, yeah? 28. Yathana dinam baho muvega
Yathananinam bahavo mudvega
samudram evabhi mukha dravanti
samudram evabhimukha dravanti
tatha tavami naralokavira
tatha tavami naralokavira
vishanti bhaktrani abhivijvalanti.
vishanti vakrani abhivijvalanti.
As the many waves of the rivers flow into the ocean, so do all these great warriors enter blazing into your mouths. Text 29. Yatha pradiptam jwalanam patanga
Yatha pradiptam jwalalam patanga
vishanti nashaya samriddha vega
vishanti nasaya samadravya vega
tathaiva nashaya vishanti lokas
tathaiva nasaya vishanti lokas
tavapi bhaktrani samriddha vega.
tavapi vaktranti samadravega.
I see all people rushing full speed in your mouths as moths dash to destruction in a blazing fire. Text 30. Leliyashe grashamanna samantal
Leliya se grashaman samanthal
lokan samagran vadanai jwala divi
lokam samagra vadanar jwalam hihi
tejobira purya jagat samagram
tejopira purya jagat samagram
bhasha stavogra pratapanti vishnu.
asastavagra pratapanti Vishnu.
O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouths, covering all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with terrible, scorching rays. Text 31. Akhyahi me ko bhavan ugra rupo
Akhyani me ko bhavan augra rupo
namastu te devavara prasiddha.
namastu te devavara prasiddha
Vijnatum ichchami bhavantam adyam
Vijnatum ichchami bhavanatam adyam
nahi prajanami tava pravartatama.
nahi prajnami tava pravrittam.
Pravittim. Translation. O Lord of all Lord, O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. You are the primal Lord. I want to know about you, for I do not know what your mission is. Now, this is the final verse for today. Shri Bhagavana Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Kalo Ashmin Loko Shaya Krita Pravarto
Kalosmi lokashya krit pravadro
Lokan Samahartum Iha Pravarta
Lokam samahartam iha pravartaha
Rite Pitwamna Bhavishyanti Sarve
Rittepi tvam na bhavashyanti sarve
Yavashtita Pratyana Keshul Yodha.
Yevashtita pratayan keshu yodhaha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people, with the exception of you, the Pandavas. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. You can read the purport, Mother.
Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki
Aki
jai.
Jai.
Although Arjuna knew that Krishna was his friend and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was puzzled by the various forms exhibited by Krishna. Therefore, he asked further about the actual mission of this devastating force. It is written in the Vedas that the supreme truth destroyed everything, even the Brahmanas. As stated in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.25, Yashya Sabrahma cha Kshatram cha Ude Bhavata Udana Mrityuryasyopesha Sechanam Ka Irtha Veda Yatra Saha. Eventually, all the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and everyone else are devoured like a meal by the Supreme. This form of Supreme Lord is the all-devouring giant. And here, Krishna presents himself in that form of all-devouring time. Except for the few Pandavas, everyone who was present on the battlefield would be devoured by him. Arjuna was not in the favor of the fight, and he thought it was better not to fight, then there would be no frustration. In reply, the Lord is saying that even if he did not fight, even one of them would be destroyed, for that was his plan. Every one of them would be destroyed, for that was his plan. If Arjuna stopped fighting, they would die in another way. Death could not be checked, even if he did not fight. In fact, they were already dead. Time is destruction, and all manifestations are to be vanquished by the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the law of nature. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. Now, this particular verse is a very important verse. You know, to those who have read the introduction, that there are 5 subjects in Bhagavad Gita: Ishvara, which means the controller or the Supreme Lord; Jiva means the living entities like us; Prakriti means the material nature; and Kala is the 5th subject, which means the time. In this particular chapter, Kala is being explained. And we, in all these verses, we find how Krishna exhibits his universal form and how he's controlling everything. And we read in the couple of just previous verses how universal form is qualifying and he's eating everything. Everything is coming to the mouth, is it eating everything. In the verse we also read how your Brahmins, Kshatriyas, all of them are eaten. Now this is shown to Arjuna that what is going to happen during the war and at the end of the war. Besides that, Arjuna saw so many things. In the beginning, he saw the creation. He also saw all the demigods. He saw all the different activities, different energies of Krishna. And now he's seeing the time working. So when Arjuna becomes disturbed, he's asking, who are you? So this particular verse, which I'll read again for you, he says, time I am the great destroyer of the worlds, and I come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Prabhupada is explaining that though Arjuna knew Krishna as his friend and knew the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but when he saw all these forms, he became puzzled. What's going on? He knows Krishna is supreme. We had read that verse in the 10th chapter, Parabrahma, Parabdhama, Pavitra, Paramam Bhava. I think it's 12, verse number 12 in chapter 12, chapter 10. So it's not that Arjuna does not know Krishna is supreme, but to see this horrifying form of Krishna is actually disturbing Arjuna. Next, Prabhupada said that Arjuna is asking of actual mission of this devastating time or devastating force, because this form is like it's going to consume everything. Just like if there is a very big flood comes, then it takes everyone away. Even houses, people, nothing remains. If there is a flood in some big river, or if there is a fire, we hear of the fire in some cities, like London city was destroyed many years ago, and again it was built up. There's water, there's fire. These things are very powerful. And then we had some years ago tsunami. It just came and took the whole city, which was near the ocean. In the similar way, this universal form is devastating. So Arjun is asking, what is the actual mission? Why am I seeing all this, or why you are showing me all this? And Krishna has already said that I am here. I am Kala. Kala means time. I will come here to destroy everyone. With the exception of the Pandavas, everyone will be destroyed. So after the 18th day of war, you find that on the last day, Duryodhana is killed, and on that night also, there was one Akshoni Sena, which means one full army of the Pandavas, one section was destroyed in cold blood by Ashwatthama. So 3 people were left on the side of the Kauravas. One was Ashwatthama, one more, I can't remember the name, it's gone off my mind, and one is Kripacharya. And on the side of the Pandavas, all the 5 Pandavas left. Even before the war, Mother Kunti had asked Krishna, what's going to happen? Krishna said, don't worry. Nothing is going to happen to your sons. That means Krishna personally protected all the Pandavas. Of course, Krishna did not protect the sons of the Pandavas who were killed by Ashwatthama. Even Abhimanyu was killed. So we should know that what Krishna kept his promise to Mother Kunti, that your sons, nothing is going to happen. And the same thing Krishna is saying, that with the exception of the Pandavas, everyone will be destroyed. Now here, the main theme of this particular verse is Kala. Kala means time. In Gujarati, when someone dies, they say Kal Purotyo. In Hindi, say Kal Khatam Hua. Samay Khatam Ho Gaya. In every culture, in Kiswahili also says Samay Fika. In any language, they'll use the same language. The meaning is the same, time is up. So Kala destroys everything and everyone, whether one is a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. In the Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful verse which says that as soon as the sun rises and it sets in the evening, one day becomes minus in everyone's life. But for those who hear Krishna Katha, the day does not become minus, it becomes added. Because after their death, they go back home, back to Godhead. The simplest way or the easiest way to go back home, back to Godhead, is to hear Krishna Katha daily. Krishna Katha or chanting Hare Krishna and hearing Hare Krishna mantra is equivalent. So if you don't have time to hear Krishna Katha, hear your own chanting. Hear Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. As it enters your ear, you're not wasting your time. You're utilizing your time. So time will not be wasted for those who practice devotional service. Otherwise, for others, time is minused. Like in today's culture, people like to celebrate a birthday. And I think I had given an example, was in one of the classes, that we celebrate such a nice, with a lot of pomp and pleasure. If someone has reached a certain age, let's say someone became 21 years old, or 18 years old, or 16 years, we try to say, oh, we are celebrating his 16th birthday. But if you see with the eyes of the scriptures, 16 years are already dead. He's already lost his 16 years. Whatever is the birthday. But anyway, that is the modern culture, and we all try to follow. So really speaking, whose birthday should we celebrate? Should we celebrate is Krishna's birthday, Janmashtami, or Ram Navami, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaur Purnima, or the appearance of any coming of the Lord can be celebrated. But if we celebrate a life of any other being, is nothing but a waste of time. So anyway, Arjuna thought in the beginning that I better not fight and become frustrated, but it was the will of Krishna. What happened in the war? We all know in the first chapter that Arjuna entered the battlefield, and as he entered the battlefield, he was full of power, a lot of strength. And upon seeing the opposite army, all his power went down to an extent that he could not even hold his bow, Gandhi. But the good thing about Arjuna is asked for instruction. He's telling Krishna, now my mind is reeling. I cannot hold my bow anymore. Kindly instruct me. And Krishna starts instructing from chapter 2, verse number 12 onwards. So for the time being, we should know that Arjuna did not actually want to fight. He thought, let there be peace. Even after all the 6 aggressions which the Kauravas had done, which I mentioned, they had fed poison, they tried to burn them in the fire, they kidnapped their wife, they attacked with deadly weapons, they looted their kingdom, and so on. So all these aggressions, the answer was they should have been killed a long time ago. But Pandavas, being pure devotees, they tolerated each 6 of these aggressions. Now this time, even Arjuna is still ready to forgive, but Krishna says no. Now you are on the battlefield already, you have to fight. And you have to fight not for yourself, you are fighting for me, because it's a plan of Krishna. So now Arjuna will be able to understand Krishna's plan. If Arjuna did not kill them, they would be killed in another way. Let's say the the battlefield did not take place. Or the war of Mahabharata did not take place. Krishna would have arranged something else. And he would have killed all of them. Like in one of the verses you read, that Krishna was eating everyone in the universal form, like eating a meal. Like you have a meal in front of you and you eat, you finish your plate. In the similar way, an example is given that Krishna was enjoying or eating all of them to an extent that his dear grandfather Bhishma is also being chewed under the teeth of the universal form, even Dronacharya. All these people, and Bhishma was not meant to die. He had he had a benediction that he will die only when he was to die, but even Bhishma will go in the due course. All this is seen by Arjuna, and Arjuna is now understanding what Krishna is trying to say. So really speaking, they were already dead, as noticed by Arjuna. Now, some of our acharyas also explain that actually the Kauravas had died long time ago. And when was that? When Draupadi was insulted. At that time, Krishna, they already killed all of them. He said all those were seeing the insult of Draupadi, whoever was present there, who did not support her, who did not help her, other than the Pandavas, but the Pandavas were helpless, but all others will have to die. So the acharyas have the opinion that if you fool around with a chaste lady, this is the result. Your destruction is for sure. You're just reading. Somebody came and asked the question, why in our culture, in our Vedic culture, which we now call it a Hindu culture, why do we don't allow free mixing of boys and girls? So the answer is given in the Bhagavatam. If you go to King Prithu's 4th canto, I think it's chapter 21, verse number 4, where he says that when Prithu Maharaj was coming, so many people went to greet. Among there were unmarried girls. And Sri Prabhupada writes, an unmarried girl are very auspicious, very pure, and they should not be touched. And especially if someone touches with feet, it is a sin. Now today's modern culture, we don't observe all these things. But in the Vedic culture, it is not allowed that an unmarried girl be touched by anyone else. It is not allowed. So Vedic culture is very, very deep. We should remember this and take a point from Srimad Bhagavatam that if someone tries to insult, especially a lady like Draupadi, destruction is inevitable. I mean, inevitable. He is going to be destroyed. Like Ravana had to be destroyed because of insulting Mother Sita. And here, Draupadi, because of Draupadi, all these people had to die, everyone. Some people ask that, but Bhishma was a great person, Dronacharya, even Karna was a great person. Why they all had to die? Because they did not help Draupadi. They stood there, in the Vedic culture, it says that if something wrong is going on in front of you, you should either speak up, or you stop it by fighting, or you go away. And at the most, if someone is insulting, that it goes on to an extent, you pull the tongue out. So it's a very serious issue. And there's another opinion also given in Mahabharata, that we all know that during the Mahabharata, the son of Bhima, what was the name? Babruwan. Babruwan came there. And Babruwan was so powerful that he alone could have fought everyone. And this Babruwan, sorry, I think he's Arjun's son, not Bhima's son. Arjun had 4 wives, Draupadi, Subhadra, then Ulupi, and the 4th one is Chitragada. He's one of the sons of the other one of the wives. And Krishna knew his power. So Krishna stopped him. And Krishna said that, what did your mother say? He said, my mother said that your uncles, means the Pandavas, army is very small and they are weak. So, because I don't know who are the Pandavas, so how will I recognize them? Because they came on the day of the battlefield, when the battle started. And he says, your mother is right. Pandavas are very weak compared to them. He says, so whichever side is going to be weak, I'm going to fight on that side. So you'll find that in a war, any side can become weak. And he would have killed everyone. So Krishna stopped him by saying that your face will remain eternal. You're up to here. The rest of body will die. And you'll see the entire battlefield for all the days. And your face will remain immortal. And at the end of the 18 days war, Bhima and Arjun was a bit of an argument, not argument, we were asking that I killed more warriors. And Arjun said, I killed more warriors. So they came to Krishna, and Krishna said, well, we have a witness, just like we have a camera, a CCTV camera, similar like that. He says, let's go to Babruwan, whose face was there. And Babruwan was asked, who actually killed him? Who killed more, Bhima or Arjuna? And the answer was shocking. He said, neither Bhima killed anyone, nor Arjuna killed anyone. He said, then who killed everyone? He said, it's Krishna who killed everyone with his Sudarshan. So this is the power of Krishna. Anyway, this is an opinion by the Acharyas also. So really speaking, Arjuna saw that actually Krishna is doing everything, which he saw this in the universe form. Everything is done by Krishna. Who is to be killed, who is to be spared, who is to be killed in which way, everything was done by Krishna. So this gives an answer. Even if one reads Mahabharata very scrutinizingly, he'll come to one answer, that Krishna is cause of all causes. Sorry. Just like in Brahma Samhita, it says, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha Nadir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. That cause of all causes is Krishna, even if you read Mahabharata. So Mahabharata is read in such a way, or written in such a way. Not much of a bhakti is given there. Bhakti is very little. There is written about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, politics, social life. Everything is there in the Mahabharata. But the conclusion of Mahabharata is Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the beginning and he is the end. So that is why Mahabharata is read and understood. If understood, one will worship Krishna. There is no doubt about it. So anyway, time destroys everything. All manifestation, it is a desire of Krishna. Krishna is appeared Now you should know why Krishna shows the universal form. If someone asks you why Krishna had to show this form, because of the 5 subjects of Bhagavad Gita, Kala was taught by showing the universal form. And very soon, after a couple of verses, Arjuna will speak beautiful prayers to glorify Krishna. But this form is not very, very dear to the devotees. It is dear to laymen or people who don't have much faith in Krishna. It's very attractive to them. But to devotees, they like Krishna's form the way Krishna is, not the universal form. Anyway, since it is in Bhagavad Gita, it is still worshipable. And as we had read earlier in the beginning of the chapter, this universal form was also, though in the material world, was created by Krishna's internal potency, only for a very short time to show it to Arjuna. So as time destroys everything, we'll find that as we also, even our body will be destroyed by time. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, there's a famous verse. If I'm not wrong, verse number 27, Jatashahi dhruvam mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya tashmad apihari arte natham sochitum arhashi. Krishna tells Arjuna that whoever takes birth is sure to die. And whoever has taken birth, whoever has died is sure to take birth again. The word dhruvam means for certain, for sure. Anyone who dies will be born again, and anyone who is born again will die. This cycle goes on and on. So one should not give up one's duty, and one should not lament. So devotee's life is not a life of lamentation. Devotee's life is a proper utilization of time. He does not let even a moment go without serving Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gives us the same advice. Prabhupada says, don't waste any time. Any minute gone, or even a second gone, is not going to come back. Chanakya Pandit says, even if you pay 1,000,000 gold coins for 1 minute to come back, it can't come back. It's gone. So time should never be wasted. Even in nectar instruction, in the final verses, I remember when we had done the exam on nectar of instruction, one of the questions was that, for example, you are given 1 week to stay in Vrindavan, what will you do? If you are given with all expenses paid in Vrindavan, what will you do? And different students wrote different answers. One of them said that I'll go and see all the temples. Someone said, I'll go and bath in Yamuna. Someone said, I'll go and see Govardhan. But who got the highest marks? The highest marks was given to a person who wrote the actual answer. The answer is that the moment I enter Vrindavan, I utilize my time in serving Krishna or engage in devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. That is the right answer. So if you work under the guidance of a pure devotee, for example, in ISKCON, we are very fortunate that we have been given instruction by Srila Prabhupada. He's our Acharya. And backing the Acharya are so many other Acharyas. They are giving us all the instructions how to utilize our time. So time should not be wasted. So Srila Prabhupada says in one line, if you get even 1 minute spare time, chant Hare Krishna. Don't let the time just go like that. Don't waste time doing things which are asat. There's sat and asat. I think everybody knows the answer. Sat means eternal. Asat means temporary. Anything to do with body is asat. Anything to do with the soul is sat. So atma is sat, means truth. So time well used should be how to provide real happiness to the soul. And the real happiness of the soul is to give Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada gives the story of a cage and a bird. One lady, a very rich lady, went to buy a bird and she had to buy a cage for it. She was very rich lady. She bought a golden cage for the bird. And when the cage was brought, the bird was brought, she would daily wipe the cage so nicely but she forgot to feed the bird. What happened? Eventually the bird died. In the similar way, if you don't take care of the soul inside, you're wasting your time. So each minute has to be utilized in the service of Krishna. If not, it's a sheer waste of time. So utilize each minute, each second. That's why all our teachings, if you see, if you really technically judge all the instructions, they are meant to be utilized our time all the time. And now the bhakti means hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, and so on. No wasting time at all from the moment you wake up in the morning till the time you go to sleep at night, and even while dreaming or even in sleep, you serve Krishna. That's why one who uses the time properly is a wise man, and one who misuses the time, with which misuse of one's independence, is a fool. Srimad Bhagavatam gives many evidences. One evidence is that of King Puranjan. It's a story given in an allegorical way, in which the king falls in love with a woman. Actually, that woman is the intelligence. And how he spends his time with her, whole of his life, produces many children. And they were so much in love intimately that even when death came, he was forcibly removed from his city. And the city was put in fire, and he was still lamenting, oh, what is my wife doing? Just thinking of the wife in the next life, he had to become a woman. From a king, he became a woman. Of course, as a princess in another king's house. And again, as a princess, she was married to a Brahmin. And a Brahmin in those days, most Brahmins would stay home only for a short time, then they would go for doing tapasya, austerity. So when her husband went away, and she was serving her husband nicely, and when her husband passed away, she wanted to become a sati. Sati means to voluntarily go into fire. At that time, a Brahmin says, don't do this. He stopped her from doing. And then the Brahmin narrated all her previous lives, at least 7 lives. You remember, we were like swans in one lake. You were the same king and I was your advisor. This time, I'm here to still give you a chance, come to me. So that Brahmin represents Paramatma or Krishna. So when you say Kala, Kala is also a representation of Krishna. And Kala does not spare anyone. In English, they say, time and tide leaves no one. When the tide comes, no one can stop. When the time is over, one has to die. And the famous example is that of Hiranyakashipu. He refused to accept Vishnu, but he had to accept Lord Nrsimhadev, who killed him eventually on his lap, and he could not question. With all those benedictions from Brahma, he was powerless. He could not, he couldn't even move an inch, and he was killed right in front of his own son, whom he had tried to punish in many ways. And after killing him, piercing him apart, Lord Nrsimhadev was still angry, and he throws him down, and he was still angry till Prahlad pacifies him. So we should not take time to be something ordinary. That is the meaning of this particular verse. Whenever you see a clock, I have a clock in my hand here, you can see a small clock. Look at it and look at yourself. Are you utilizing your time nicely? If not, use it nicely. That is the message of all these verses. That other than the Pandavas, nobody is going to be left. Everybody will be killed. No one will be spared. And you should know how even Duryodhana was killed. Though Duryodhana has a benediction from his own mother, that his body will be, invincible. His body was as good as iron. But he too was killed. And that was by Krishna's arrangement. Krishna, he steered the Pandavas to the victory, really speaking, in every way. It is written that Krishna, though he was a chariot driver, but without Krishna, Arjuna would have died on the very first day. very first day, Krishna protected him in all the days and all the Pandavas, because he has promised Mother Kunti, I'll bring your sons the way they are. And Krishna's promise means it can't fail. Hare Krishna. So 40 minutes already over. If you have any questions, you may ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And since we are doing Kala, thank you very much for sticking to time as well. Thank you very much. We are respecting our time. Prabhuji, there are two questions, both from Vishal Solanki, Prabhuji. The first question is, when we have our birthdays, should we celebrate or not?
Well, we can celebrate with Krishna consciousness. Not that you blow candles. Well, it's become a trend or a fashion. I'm not saying that don't do it. But if, let's say, you're 18 years old or 20 years old, then you should have other side of the birthday is that if all those 20 years I have not worshipped Krishna, from today onwards, let me worship Krishna. This is the right way of worshipping birthday. Rather than saying, okay, I have not done any, I've enjoyed myself and I'm still going to enjoy my life. Life, yes, there is pleasure, but all pleasure, if connected with Krishna, it becomes devotional service. So all our pleasures, our happiness should be shared or should be along with Krishna. Then nothing is wrong. I remember in our younger days, we never used to celebrate a birthday. Never. For years, we never celebrated birthday. It's like in maybe last 20 years, people have started celebrating. But in our Indian culture, we never celebrate birthday. Even I never heard anyone celebrating a wedding anniversary. Nobody. Even in Nairobi, I have seen only maybe a dozen couple, not all of them. Let's say it's normal. Yes, we do celebrate Krishna's appearance day, spiritual master's appearance day, Acharya's appearance day. That is okay. Okay, do you get Vishal, you got the answer? You can have a Krishna conscious birthday or you can have a mundane birthday. Have a Krishna conscious birthday is better. Have kirtan on that day and feed the devotees. Bring your friends, let them have, you can even feed them pizza and cake and chips, no problem. Offer it to Krishna, distribute them. Okay.
Prabhuji, he has answered in the chat. He has answered in the chat. Yes, that's he will do that from now. There's another question, Prabhuji, again from Vishal Prabhuji, and he's asking, Rukma Prabhuji, how can one get the amount of spiritual knowledge that you have acquired? How can we get it in a short period of time? Prabhuji, Vishal Prabhuji is very keen. And he wants
if you want in a shortest way to learn this knowledge, hear Prabhupada daily, at least 2 lectures a day. Hear the same lecture 5 times. Let's see, hear it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. 5 days if you hear 1 lecture and another lecture, 1 lecture in the morning, 1 in the evening. In a very short time, you can acquire so much knowledge. Prabhupada is the original powerhouse. You should remember that. And if you are really keen that I want to distribute this knowledge to others, then read Prabhupada's books. Because when you hear the same message, you'll find in the books. And then you distribute to others. When you distribute to others, your knowledge will increase. It's not that yours will become less. Knowledge is not like money, that if you spend, it will get finished. No. Knowledge, if you give out, it will increase. It's a happiness which will increase. Because real knowledge means real happiness. Because it removes your ignorance. So the more you preach, and if you can't preach, then give out the books of Prabhupada to others. Let them read. And Prabhupada has a desire that every devotee in ISKCON become a preacher. So if you can't preach knowledge, or if you are not knowledgeable, books are there, distribute books. That's the best way to acquire knowledge.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, is there any site that Vishal Prabhuji can look at for Prabhupada's lectures?
Yes. If you have a YouTube on your phone, you just write Prabhupada lecture, and you get a variety of lecture. Even I hear Prabhupada even till today. I have heard Prabhupada since last, I would say, 35 years. I'll never have a day without it. And I am so used to him that I just like the way he explains. That's it.
Okay,
So
thank
you have to
you.
get accustomed to his way of explaining. And sometimes you become, used to his flow, that you will also know what he's going to speak. If you read the books and hear, and if you write it down, write notes like this. Keep notes like this. Don't just hear. You'll forget. Always keep a pencil or pen in your hand. If you read something, note it down. Make points. And you'll find that after 5 years, when you open that diary, you remember so many things. Because we are conditioned souls, we forget. I'll give you an example. If you were here on this planet 5,000 years ago, if you happen to meet a Kshatriya, and if you go to a Kshatriya's house, you'll find him sharpening his arrows, keeping his bow properly, keeping his uniform properly, his shield properly, keeping everything shining. You know, Kshatriya knows war can take place anytime. In a similar way, how do we do the same principles we follow? We must hear every day. We must read every day. So our brain also becomes shining. Prabhupada says, even today, as I was just reading Gopal Krishna Maharaj's book known as Bhakti, he says, what is Bhakti? Bhakti means to shine your heart. Your heart becomes dark, so you shine it every day by polishing it, by hearing, chanting, and remembering. So your heart becomes polished, thoroughly polished, and you'll always remain fresh, and you'll become younger if you do so.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Any other questions from any other devotees? I know we are running out of time, but I think Prabhuji has time for one more question. Okay, I think there are no more questions. I'll hand over to Path Prabhuji, who can close the session. Prabhuji, we have just 2 more minutes.
I think there was one message.
Yes,
sorry. There was one message by Mr. Lakan. He says, Prabhupada Vani. You can even get it on it, which I don't know. I have not gone to that because I hear from the YouTube, so it's okay. So Vishal can get that message also. Yeah. All right. We can end it up.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. It's nice
Hare
explanation. Also, you described about the call, the time. What is the time is Krishna. And it was also told who is the devotee. The time is coming in a favorable way. And the Krishna, who is not the devotee, his time is coming on the death, in the form of a death. So it is very furious. Although we all, the devotees and non-devotees, are also in the time bound, and we also die, but the die is also different. It is Krishna's blessing, Krishna's mercy, and that is the punishment, like this way. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Also, I thanks all the devotees who joined in this link. I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His grace, Rukma Prabhuji. Please join. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare Ram, Ram,
Hare
Ram,
Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Kripa Sindhu Eva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Srila Prabhupada ki
Krishna
jai.
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Jai Shri Rukma Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Jai.